Got it.
Okay, so this video is the video on the cutting for month 3 of the Designer Series $5 quilt. So when you get your kit, you're going to open it up, and like we do every month, we're going to pre-shrink the pieces. You will have what we call a background piece, or the light number 1, which will measure approximately 8 by 15 inches. Your print number 1 will be the green that measures, or whatever color is in your kit, 4 by 8. Okay, let me make sure. No, it's actually 5 by 9 is what you want. And then your print number 2 is gonna be a nice long piece. Again, this one's gonna measure, I got my thing covered up, 4 by 15 inches, all right? So with the longer pieces, you're going to need your straight ruler to be able to cut your pieces. And this is where having a nice longer one, this one's 24, we also sell them in 18s, will let you cut these longer strips. This month's block is pretty easy. It's almost all strip piecing except for the half square triangles, so it'll go together really quickly. So out of our light number 1, we have to cut, the first thing it says is cut 2 strips 1.5 by 14.5. Now, this is strip piece. I'm not going to cut it down to 14.5. I'm going to leave it whatever length it is, and I suggest you do the same thing, but everybody likes to have that second measurement. So the first thing I have to do is I have to clean cut my edge. So I'm just laying my ruler down because it has been pre-shrunk. It's a little raggy, and I'm just getting a straight edge to cut with. Then I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to find the 1.5 inch line on my ruler. And now I'm going to be sure that my 1.5 goes the whole length and it's nice and straight. And I'm going to cut 1, and then I'm going to cut a second one because I need 2. Okay, so there's 2. So now I have 2 1.5 by what I call the length of the fabric. Now I need a strip that's 1.5 by 3.5. And then I need 2 squares that are 1.5 by 1.5. I missed the first step. I need 2 squares. I'm going to say this is way too much fabric for that. I now need 2 squares that are 4 by 4. So I'm going to find the 4-inch line on my ruler, which is here, and I'm going to do this. Okay. Then I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to take a straight line on my ruler, making sure it's straight here and it's straight here, and I'm going to clean cut this edge. Then I'm going to flip it back over. So now, and you can use your square ruler for this, I need 2 4-inch squares. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to put a 4-inch line here, a 4-inch line here, and a 4-inch line there. When I've got it all nice and square, I'm going to cut 1, and I'm going to line up a second one, and I'm going to cut 2. Okay, so I have my 2 4-inch squares. Now I need 1 strip that's 1.5 by 3.5. So I'm just going to take my 1.5, right, and cut this, and this should measure 3.5. Let me check. It actually measures 4. I'm going to strip piece this, so I'm going to leave it right at the 4. And then I need 2 squares that are 1.5 by 1.5. So if I do this, I can do 1.5, and then I can come over here and line that 1.5 up and do another one. Okay, so ultimately I've got my 2 1.5 by length of fabric. I have 2 4-inch squares. I have a 1.5 by 3.5, or the width of the fabric, and I have 2 1.5-inch squares. And look, I have this left over that I can bank, and I would recommend you just keep a little extra bag of these, because there's going to be a time you may come up short with a 1.5-inch square or even a 1.5-inch strip, and now you've got an extra piece in there. Okay, so that is your background. Now, print number 1, which this month is going to be this one, we need 2 4-inch squares. Pretty much if you see it in the background, you're probably going to have a matching piece. So again, I'm actually going to go the long way first, and I'm going to clean cut an edge. I'm going to measure over 4. Remember, on these rulers, the white numbers are the full numbers, the black are the halves. So since I need 4, I need to be on the white side. I'm going to cut that. Again, I'm going to line my 2 lines up so they're square, 4 and 4. And then I'm going to measure over my 4 inches again. And again, this could be done with a square ruler. There's 1 4, and there is 2 4s. And I'm looking, this, and this are all nice and on the fabric and square. And now I have my 2 4-inch squares of that. Okay. The last one we have to cut is print number 2. It's fabric 3. And we need one strip that's 1.5 by 14.5, 2 strips that are 1.5 by 3.5, and 1 square that's 1.5 by 1.5. So we're just going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to lay this down. I have pre-shrunk it. And I take about between 1/8 and 1/4 inch when I clean cut an edge. I'm going to go to the black side of my ruler and find my 1.5 line, which is right here. Line that up so it's perfectly on the edge. Cut a 1.5-inch strip. Now, all my other pieces I need are also 1.5 inch, so I'm going to put this on the outside here. I have it. I'm going to do another 1.5-inch strip. Now this one I have to come and I'm going to clean cut the edge. So I'm lining this line up and I'm seeing that I'm at 1.5. Cut that. Now I need a 1.5 by 3.5. So go to leave it on the black side of the ruler. So there's my 3.5. There's one. I need one of those. Actually need 2 of those. So line it up again. And then I need a 1.5-inch square. There's my 1.5-inch square. Here is my strip. And this you can put in your bank with the other piece for a future in case you need it. So ultimately, I have my 1.5 by length. I have a 1.5-inch squares, 2 1.5s by 3.5s. There are my 2 4-inch squares, 2 1.5s by length of fabric, my 2 4-inch squares. I have my 2 1.5s, and I have my 1.5 by my width of fabric. And that's your cutting for this month.